Morning breaks over Fort Moore, Georgia, with gravel shifting under boots and cold breath pooling in the dim light. Steel targets wait as gray shapes beyond the berm, patient and quiet. Rifles stay in their cases while benches are staged and safety flags hang bright on empty chambers. Bolts are open, magazines removed, muzzles pointed in a safe direction as the range culture settles everyone into order before the first shot. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale, an infantry squad leader in the United States Army, stands steady at her lane. She double-checks her Mk-22 precision sniper rifle chambered in .300 Norma Magnum, confirms the magazine is out, and verifies the chamber clear with practiced eyes. A worn databook opens beneath her gloves, edges softened by field time and notes. She is small and durable, built for endurance more than intimidation. Her thumb smooths a sling buckle flat so pressure stays even, and her breathing stays slow and quiet. Master Sergeant Dean Hart moves with a flat, professional gaze that misses nothing. Sergeant Kyle Rourke keeps a loud confidence near the edge, while Specialist Noah Sellers watches Erin with anxious focus. Corporal Daniel Harris stands a step apart, disciplined and reserved. Whispers about a past washout circle like cold wind around the line, thin and unproven. At what sounds like 6:20 a.m., Erin stays silent and composed, anchoring to process and safety as the day leans forward without resolution. The range holds its breath as respect begins to form, quiet and cautious. Nothing flashy moves, only discipline taking shape. Rank sets the rhythm on the range at Fort Moore, Georgia. Master Sergeant Dean Hart runs the lanes and cadres the standard. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale stands as an infantry squad leader in the United States Army, steady inside that chain of command. Candidates address people correctly because respect keeps things safe. They say Sergeant Hale when speaking to her, and Master Sergeant Hart when he gives directions. Sergeant Kyle Rourke is a vocal candidate. Specialist Noah Sellers watches and learns, and Corporal Daniel Harris stays disciplined and reserved. Erin asked for sniper training more than once. Approvals slipped behind deployments and unit needs, so she kept working and waited without complaint. When the final approval arrived, she treated that paper as the moment the real test began. Her build is compact and durable, more endurance than spectacle. She smooths a sling buckle flat so pressure stays even, checks the magazine, checks the chamber, then opens a worn data book with the corners softened by use. Her voice stays low and even when she gives instructions, and she talks in simple terms like natural point of aim and wind call. Nothing about it is flashy. The protocol is clean, the language exact, and the chain of command is followed without drama. Restraint and discipline become her edge, while others still look for volume to feel strong. The timed ruck starts on a sandy trail at Fort Moore, Georgia, and the pack rides high on sturdy shoulders. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale settles into an even pace under roughly 50 pounds, boots landing the same way every step, breath measured to save energy. A few candidates bolt early and fade fast as the minutes stack up. Erin keeps straps snug, does not loosen the chest strap while moving, and lets the clock decide when to push and when to hold. Sergeant Kyle Rourke drifts alongside with a loud remark about an easy admin pace meant for the office. Erin keeps her line, eyes forward, and the rhythm never changes. After the march, the class shifts to the stalking lane, where wet grass and fine sand cling to uniforms. The ground is cool against forearms as bodies flatten into the terrain and try to disappear. Common errors start to show the moment nerves rise. A head lifts too high, a knee flares, or a hand pushes grass the wrong way, and spotters on platforms pick up those tells without effort. Erin reads the air with a wind clock mindset and studies mirage for boil and flow. She pauses when the breeze shifts, slides only when the scan pattern moves, and builds a stable natural point of aim before each inch of progress. Specialist Noah Sellers fights fast breathing and sharp movements that betray his position. Erin raises a flat hand to stop, waits for his shoulders to drop, then times small advances to match wind and attention while keeping her own movement hidden. The lane stays quiet except for distant birds and the scrape of gear against soil. Endurance and wind sense do the work that noise never can. The unknown distance range at Fort Moore, Georgia, stretches across mixed terrain with steel tucked into folds and shadows. Heat shimmer bends the view, so edges soften and distances lie if you rush. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale studies mirage with patient eyes, reading boil when she looks into heat and flow when the wind slides across the lane. She builds a range estimate with her reticle and known target sizes, then records the number in a worn data card. Her process stays simple and correct, built for repeatable shots rather than theatrics. She checks natural point of aim, dials the elevation turret and mills, sets a clean wind call, and lets her breathing settle before she moves on. Sergeant Kyle Rourke tries to draw her into calling a FAR plate out loud while others glance over for a show. Erin writes her number calmly, takes a second look at the mirage, makes one small correction, and turns in her card without a word. Master Sergeant Dean Hart reviews the card and moves on in a silence that carries more weight than any speech. That quiet spreads along the line as candidates read the room. The lesson is clear because nobody needs it explained. In the dining facility, fatigue sharpens voices and trays clatter harder than they should. A candidate asks why she belongs after a past washout, and Erin answers with steady humility that she is here because her unit needs her ready, then returns to eating without fanfare. No rules are bent and no steps are skipped. Weapons stay cleared until the line goes hot. Safety habits remain visible, and the language of the range stays precise on purpose. The day closes on restraint rather than volume. Silence and precision begin to beat bravado, and the targets out there seem to agree. Cold settles over Fort Moore, Georgia, as red lens headlamps drift between pines and sand. Checkpoints sit quiet in the woods, marked by faint reflective tape and a clipboard that waits for clean punches. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale kneels over a map with compass and protractor set square. She plots points, writes a bearing, and confirms magnetic declination before she folds the map into a tight, weathered packet. She sets her azimuth and clips pace beads where her thumb can find them in the dark. Terrain association leads the way as she tracks contour lines instead of chasing a straight line through brush. An attack point comes first, a road bend that cannot be mistaken in low light. A backstop follows, a shallow drainage that will catch her if she overshoots, and keeps error from turning into distance. Wind slides through the trees and pulls sound sideways. Erin pauses and listens, then adjusts a few degrees when the tree line suggests the ground is slipping her right, and resets her steps to keep the bearing honest. Breath stays steady, steps short and deliberate, and the headlamp runs dim to preserve night sight. Pace beads click one by one until the count matches her estimate, and the red lens narrows to a final sweep. The control point rises from the dark with only seconds left on the clock. Erin turns in her card to Master Sergeant Dean Hart, who gives a flat nod and a held look that says the work is seen. Sergeant Kyle Rourke arrives late with noise and explanations about terrain and darkness. A couple of candidates nod because blaming feels easier than owning a drift. The night answers with quiet. Patience and precision are what carry Erin through, not speed. The live fire brief settles over the line at Fort Moore, Georgia. Master Sergeant Dean Hart stands where everyone can see and sets the tone with clear, patient cadence. He confirms the line is cold and walks the lanes with a steady eye. Muzzles stay pointed in a safe direction, bolts locked open, magazines removed, and chambers visually checked. He calls the sequence everyone knows by heart. Cease fire. Unload and show clear. Bolt to the rear. Magazine out. Chamber clear. Stand by for further commands. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale listens closely and keeps her lane tidy. She aligns her MK-22 precision sniper rifle and .300 Norma Magnum on a stable rest, verifies the chamber is empty, and lays out her data book and tools with purpose. Personal phones remain secured in barracks and never appear on the firing line. The focus stays on safety, communication, and the rules that make live fire predictable. A cadre member stumbles on a phrase, and Erin quietly murmurs the correct wording at the right moment. Master Sergeant Hart notes the correction with a brief look and keeps the cadence smooth. He repeats the essentials until voices and movements match the script. Repetition builds trust and turns good habits into muscle memory for everyone on the berm. Small routines become the backbone of every shooter. When the checks are complete, he announces the transition. The line is hot. Shooters mount the guns only after confirmation, and the range rises from quiet into controlled work. Wet ground slicks the stalking lane at Fort Moore, Georgia, and the pines hold the morning's chill. Staff Sergeant Aaron Hale pairs with Specialist Noah Sellers, while instructors watch from platforms and the berm stays quiet, waiting for small mistakes to give themselves away. Aaron uses silent hand signals to stop and wait, then times inching advances to match spotter scan patterns and wind shifts. She keeps her profile low, elbows and knees close, and checks natural point of aim before each move, so the rifle rests where the body wants it to. Tradecraft guides every choice. She reads mirage for boil when looking into heat and flow when the wind slides across, selects covered routes that break up shape and shine, and spreads weight through elbows and knees to keep the ground still. Common errors pop up fast, heads lifting, knees flaring, or hands pushing grass the wrong way. Sellers starts hot with fast breathing and sharp movements that print against the field. Aaron slows him with a flat palm, then sets a calm cadence that focuses on breathing control, reticle stability, and a smooth trigger press without taking the rifle from him. He settles, breaks the shot, and steel rings downrange. Aaron slides into position for her own run with the Mark 22 precision sniper rifle in .300 Norma Magnum. She confirms databook notes, dials elevation on the turret and mills, holds for wind on the reticle, and presses a clean trigger for an immediate ring. Sergeant Kyle Rourke tries to brush it off as luck, and Aaron answers with the quiet line that luck does not hold a rifle steady. Range safety stays visible and strict as the cadre reset lanes. The lesson writes itself across the dirt and grass. Aaron's leadership is measured in control under pressure, not volume, and the lane finally feels as silent as it should. Master Sergeant Dean Hart kneels beside Staff Sergeant Aaron Hale after a clean run on the line at Fort Moore, Georgia. The range hums with low voices and controlled movement as he traces her dope with a finger. He studies her worn data card. Sergeant Hale keeps the Mach 22 precision sniper rifle steady on the rest and checks natural point of aim. She confirms notes on mirage behavior and wind holds in mills, then sets it down. The rifle stays clear of tension as her breathing settles into a smooth rhythm. Master Sergeant Hart asks how she learned to read the air so well, and she answers that it came from mistakes only. No drama follows, only the quiet movement of a craftsman explaining a tool. He nods once and returns the card to the pad without ceremony. Around them, candidates take notice in small ways. Gear gets handled with more care, and the lane opens slightly as people give her space. The silence that gathers does not feel uncertain now. It feels earned. Sergeant Hale reviews wind brackets again and marks a tiny correction beside the last entry. The MK-22 rests exactly where her body wants it to point, proof of a calm, natural point of aim. The moment lands like a quiet handshake, and the range returns to work. Whispers thin out on the line at Fort Moore, Georgia, and the easy jokes lose steam. The air feels different, like a room that remembers what work sounds like when it gets serious. Sergeant Kyle Rourke grows quiet and watches his lane instead of the crowd. Specialist Noah Sellers stands a little taller and handles his pack like it matters. Corporal Daniel Harris stays professional and reserved, steady in the small tasks that keep a range moving. Respect shows up in tiny, believable ways. Shooters give space on the firing line. People use correct address, saying Sergeant Hale and Master Sergeant Hart, and nobody reaches across another lane without a word first. Staff Sergeant Aaron Hale keeps her attention on the data book and the work that belongs to her. She checks wind calls in mills, traces a clean natural point of aim, and notes a small correction where the mirage shifts. The MK-22 precision sniper rifle rests on the support as calm as her breathing. Protocol stays accurate and visible without show. There is no salute between enlisted ranks, only nods that mean nothing more than ready and clear. Gear is stowed with care, bolts open, magazines out, chambers verified before anyone moves off the line. The mood holds still and earns its own silence, The group recalibrates around discipline and proof, not rumors, and the steel beyond the berm waits the same way it always has. Command Sergeant Major Victor Devon steps onto the firing line at Fort Moore, Georgia, and the air tightens on its own. Cadres shift without a word, and candidates straighten as if the gravel asked them to. He moves station to station with quiet authority and patient eyes. He speaks rarely, asks short questions, and keeps the visit tied to standards rather than show. Master Sergeant Hart meets him with a crisp update and then yields the lane. The sequence stays orderly as the Command Sergeant Major observes safety, gear layout, and shooter posture. He pauses at Staff Sergeant Erin Hale and reads her name tape. In a low voice, he asks if she was in Warden Province during the winter rotation 6 years ago. Sergeant Hale answers yes. Sergeant Major, with steady bearing and a level tone, her hands stay clear of the trigger, and the Mark 22 precision sniper rifle rests calm on the support. Command Sergeant Major Devon gives a respectful nod, and his posture softens a fraction, not a salute, which is correct between enlisted ranks. The surrounding line senses the shift and the noise fades into a cleaner focus. Candidates adjust in small ways that say they understand. People give space on the firing line, handle magazines and bolts with care, and use proper address like Command Sergeant Major Devon, Master Sergeant Hart, and Sergeant Hale. Erin turns to her worn data book and resets her notes with careful marks. She confirms wind brackets in mills and checks natural point of aim, while the rifle stays cased open until the line changes status. The Command Sergeant Major continues down the line at the same measured pace. Cadre keep range rhythm steady so the visit becomes part of the work rather than a pause. No one chases attention and no one needs a speech. The range returns to its task in a deeper quiet as Erin closes the book for a moment, checks the chamber clear, and prepares to mount the gun only when told. The range at Fort Moore, Georgia settles into a quieter rhythm after the Command Sergeant Major visit. Voices drop to a working murmur and movements turn deliberate. The lanes feel orderly, like the place finally remembered what standard looks like when no one pushes for attention. Sergeant Kyle Rourke chooses silence over sarcasm and stays with his lane. Specialist Noah Sellers stands taller and handles gear with care, checking straps and closures like they matter. Corporal Daniel Harris remains professional and measured, ready to help without stepping on another shooter's space. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale keeps her focus on the data book. She reviews wind calls in mills and confirms notes for the MK-22 precision sniper rifle in 300 Norma Magnum, then stages her kit in a neat flow. Magazines stay out until status changes, bolts stay open, and the chamber stays clear while she preps without looking for eyes. Etiquette holds steady in small details that count. Candidates use proper address with cadre and peers, give shooters space on the line, and avoid any salute between enlisted ranks. Transitions between hot line and cold line run cleaner as checks echo the brief, and hands move with the same pace every time. Rumor loses air because proof is easier to trust than talk. Discipline replaces noise, and the berm feels like a quiet partner rather than a stage. Erin keeps her eyes on the next task, ready to work when the line goes live again. The graded unknown distance evaluation at Fort Moore, Georgia starts with steel tucked into gullies, scrub, and broken sand. Wind drifts across the lane and shifts enough to punish anyone who rushes. The terrain makes far plates look closer and near plates look small. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale lays out her gear with intent. She checks her worn data book, confirms target sketches, and reviews recent wind brackets. Rangefinders are not permitted, so she uses her reticle and known target sizes to build estimates. She follows a simple sequence that never changes. Range, elevation, wind bracket, natural respiratory pause, press. The MK-22 precision sniper rifle in 300 Norma Magnum rests steady, muzzle pointed in a safe direction until the line is hot. Other candidates fidget and whisper numbers like they can will the math to bend. Erin stays still and lets the air tell the truth. Mirage shows boil into heat and flow when the wind slides, so she adjusts holds and mills with quiet notes. She dials elevation on the turret in clean clicks and keeps wind on the reticle. Natural point of aim gets checked before each press, with tiny shifts of elbow and toe until the rifle points where her body wants it to. Breathing settles the last movement. Targets drop in order, and the clock moves the lane forward. The breeze falls off, then returns, then eases again as the sun edges higher. Erin keeps her bracket wide enough to catch the lie and narrow enough to stay honest. Only the far plate remains, the reach that ends more runs than it crowns. Mirage softens and the wind eases off the face. Erin makes a small wind adjustment, settles natural point of aim, and presses a smooth trigger. The report snaps first. Then the delayed ring of steel carries down range, late and clean. A cadre member checks the scoreboard carefully and confirms a new class record, stated plain with no celebration. Command Sergeant Major Victor Devon gives a short, respectful nod. Master Sergeant Dean Hart answers with a precise nod of acknowledgement. There is no salute between enlisted ranks, only the range rhythm returning to work. The line quiets on its own. Erin resets her data book, marks the hold and time, and starts packing for the next lane. Respect speaks louder than noise, and the berm keeps the secret without effort. The line goes cold at Fort Moore, Georgia, and dust settles back into the ruts. Most candidates drift toward trucks while the berm holds the last echo. Rifles sit open on benches with bolts locked to the rear. Magazines are out and chambers are clear as flags brighten in the fading light. Sergeant Kyle Rourke walks over without swagger and stops at a respectful distance. His words are plain and spare, the kind a person saves for when it counts. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale measures the moment with steady eyes and a quiet breath. She answers with a single standard that leaves no room for pride. Make it useful. Teach the next person better than you treated me. No one nearby reacts because the exchange belongs to them. The etiquette stays simple between enlisted ranks, and nothing about it asks for attention. Erin snaps her data book closed and stows it beside the case. She checks the MK-22 once more, confirms chamber clear, then secures straps and buckles until everything sits right. Rourke nods once and starts back toward his lane. His shoulders look lighter, like the work he owes someone else has finally found shape. The range takes on a clean, finished feel as benches clear and trash is policed. What remains is accountability instead of drama and a path forward that can be taught. Erin slides the case into the bed of the truck and steps aside for another team. The lesson lands without noise, and she is already preparing to move on. The barracks at Fort Moore settles into a soft buzz after the range is secured for the day. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale sits on the edge of her bunk with dust on her sleeves and a steady breath she learned to trust. Her phone comes out only here, not on the line, never on the berm. Range safety rules stayed intact all day, because that is how lives stay intact too. She opens a saved voicemail from years back and lets it play into memory rather than the room. In her mind, her former team leader and spouse thanks her for staying on glass the night he was wounded and for bringing him home even when the injuries ended his career. He says the children still ask about the soldier who never left his side. The words are worn smooth by time, and the cadence is slow, like someone choosing each breath. Erin can feel the weight of the optic on her cheek again, the long minutes where reticle and heartbeat tried to move as one. She wipes her eyes out of habit rather than shame and locks the screen. She stays still until the ache settles to something she can carry without spilling. Boots line up under the cots, toes even, laces tucked. A folded data book rests near her hand, its corners rounded by sweat and weather and use, its pages holding the notes she trusts when memory wants a shortcut. No one interrupts and no one needs to. The room knows the difference between noise and the kind of quiet that keeps a person whole. Sorrow waits in corners the same way dust waits under the rack. Discipline does not chase it away. Discipline makes space for it and keeps the edges clean so the work can begin again tomorrow. The range at Fort Moore, Georgia sits quiet after the evaluation. Gear is packed correctly, bolts open, magazines out, chambers clear, and trash is policed until the berm looks clean. Staff Sergeant Erin Hale folds her data book with care and slides a finger along the softened edge. The pages feel like a promise she intends to keep. She checks the MK-22 precision sniper rifle and confirms it is cleared and cased. Straps lie flat, and the case locks with a simple click that needs no audience. Her posture matches sunrise, even and balanced, as if the day never pushed her off center. Footsteps sound steady on gravel that has seen this routine before. Courage is quiet when it counts. Discipline rarely looks impressive while it is happening, yet it keeps people safe and makes results repeatable. Humility does not ask for attention because it is busy doing the work. Respect should come before records, because records without respect do not hold up under pressure. The strongest people return to hard places because they are needed, not for recognition. They bring a calm plan and let the proof come from clean process and honest shots. Erin reviews a last win call in her head and a last note on the data card. Natural point of aim sits like a habit she can trust tomorrow. No one salutes between enlisted ranks, and no one asks for a speech. Nods pass in the quiet like a handshake that needs no words. The field smells like sand and cut grass as the sun leans lower. Trucks idle and then fall silent as crews finish their checks. She steps off the line with the same measured tempo that carried her through the day. The case rides easy in her hand because the work is in her posture, not her voice. What strength looks like is responsibility carried well. Erin is ready to get back to work, steady and unhurried, with the next task already taking shape. Thank you for spending time with this story at Fort Moore, Georgia. If it earned your trust, consider subscribing for more true military and veteran stories told with care and respect. We would also love to hear where you are watching from today. Share your city or base in the comments so this community can feel a little closer, even across distance and time zones. The heart of this series stays simple. Respect comes before records, and quiet discipline matters more than noise. On-screen text reads, "Luck does not hold a rifle steady." We believe engagement should honor the people who serve. If you comment, keep it thoughtful, and if you share, tell someone why it mattered to you. On-screen text reads, "Make it useful." Teach the next person better than you treated me. This channel keeps the military context accurate to the United States Army. We avoid gimmicks and hype because the work itself carries enough weight. Your subscription helps us keep telling these stories with the right balance of detail and dignity. As the video closes, picture a cleared and cased Molk 22 precision sniper rifle resting on a bench. A folded data book sits beside it, its pages worn from use, while the range lies quiet in soft evening light. If that image stays with you, let it remind you that strength often whispers. Join us for the next story when you are ready. Until then, take care of each other and keep the standard.